Say, what the hell is he doing?
Hello, this is the Marcus Allen Frishman Show.
Yes,
We're here with Marcus in his new beach house.
Beach pad, officially
Beach
an
pad.
apartment.
Just excuse me, I just forgot my phone in the other room. I got to go and grab it. I'll be back.
Oh, well, of course, I'll introduce myself for people that don't already know me, which is hard to believe. I am Marcus Allen Frishman, and you are not. Okay, fair enough. And in these videos we do weekly, we talk about everything. Sometimes we're boring, frankly. Sometimes we're interesting. And the reason we started this is, believe it or not, when I was on YouTube for a very short period of time, about 22 weeks, I was, according to the analytics, 187% more popular than anyone in the world ever in a short 18 weeks. I was on 22 weeks. I was monetized, and I had 4 million viewers. Just so you give perspective, 4 million viewers is more than CNN and Fox News combined. 4 million viewers is more than Dr. Phil. He didn't have half of what I had. So Archie and I thought we could bring volume of viewers with my pleasant personality. It has slightly failed the plan, but we're here anyway, enjoying each other at the very least. Right, Archie?
Nasty comments already. Apes, be fucking nice. And Pay Pig, if you're not nice, you'll get banned. That's exactly it. I don't want to have any nasty fucks on this show. Marcus is my dear friend. I got to tell you, I really enjoy talking to you.
Thank you, Archie. I enjoy
You're
talking
such a
to you.
nice guy.
Archie,
just love it.
You must have deleted you must have deleted those fast, because I don't yet see anything nasty. Huh. But, you know, we're here. We're here to talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and luxury.
So tell me this. You are at your beach pad. You got the Porsche there.
I do. I, just to update people, I have a 12-room, 4-bedroom, 3-bath home that I ordered to be built. It's called a courtyard executive home, and it's somewhere in the far reaches of the foothills of Los Angeles City, on the edge of the city. By 1 block, you're out of the city. Well, I decided I'm going to rent my home out. It rents for spectacular amounts, oddly enough, with a waiting list at every broker that I've called. So I have to clear the house out and clean it up a bit, and upgrade some things. But
maybe you might want to keep one room and put your spare stuff into one room.
I thought of that. I would have to do a couple of drywalls, and I would even be able to include one of my garages, because I have two separate distinct garages. I thought of that, but that's, you know, a plan I'm not focused on right now. I have to focus on my move. I moved to a near beach pad. It's an apartment, a high-end luxury location, somewhere I won't reveal, but I will say it is in Ventura County, which is a rural county as opposed to a suburban county like LA County. And there is not, aside from my community, which is homes, townhomes, and apartments, and a university, I don't want to say too much to give it away for security reasons, but there is nothing within 13 miles of my home. Nothing, not a building, not a thing. Now, if you live in greater Los Angeles, there is never a moment anywhere in Los Angeles where there is nothing for 13 miles. Just, it doesn't exist in any location. But here in this beautiful county called Ventura County, which is south of Santa Barbara, it Santa Barbara County, which is a pretty famous place people know about. All the stars like to live there. It's a fabulous place. It's the weather's different. As soon as you go over this giant mountain, leaving Los Angeles and heading into this beautiful Ventura County valley of many different cities. Some different cities are here. It's just beautiful and it's peaceful. And I've been decorating this pad. Now this pad has 5 rooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, which I think is strange, but that's okay, and a fairly oversized kitchen and a dining room and a little living room and a den and a bedroom and a walk-in closet. And I'm very happy here. Mr. Bueller's with me, my dog. And we just...
They let you have dogs at this place?
Well, so you know, in the People's Republic
it's
of
a service dog.
Yes. Well, let's just say that I am...
Is it a service dog?
Well, I am his emotional support person. So being that I'm his emotional support person, he's allowed to be here. Actually, it's very interesting, the law. Listen to this law in LA County. Any apartment or rental property, home or otherwise, that prohibits dogs, there's a law that clicks in. So if you prohibit dog as a landlord in a home, an apartment, townhome, whatever property you're renting, if you prohibit a dog, the law clicks in. Here's the law. If they present a doctor's note saying that they need a dog, you must then allow any dog to be on your property that you prohibited. So, and that goes for other animals too. So of course, the note had to be, the dog had to be verified, but everyone has dogs here. And oddly enough, they actually allow dogs. The note was not per se necessary. So it's a fabulous, I'm wearing, today I am wearing the Deep Sea.
Well, it's a great watch. I'm wearing my Rolex Explorer 2.
I have the Explorer 2 and 1, of course. I traded in my Submariner No Date, blackface, of course, a ceramic version because I bought it not long ago. And I traded it in for this and then cut, I believe, a $5,000 check. It was 5. And so that means I got this at a discount and I made money because they gave me 10,000, I would say 10,000 in credit on the, I got a 10,000 credit on the Submariner that I paid 8,000 plus on. You probably know the exact price. Was it 82 or 8,300? And this is just a lovely, it's a bit bulkier, but it's lovely. It's a lovely watch. And of course, it's the James Cameron. You can't appreciate the fading black to blue face well here, but that's what it is. I love this watch. I, strangely enough, feel now comfortable wearing watches in my new residence because if you wear a watch in Los Angeles, in any public place now, you really become subject to being robbed by gunpoint. And I really mean it. It's not a random thing now. It's the course of the day. I know now 3 people personally in my circle, inner circle, that have been robbed at gunpoint. Now they've all been robbed. Yeah, the what?
That's fucking terrible. You're joking. That's awful.
What they do, apparently, according to one of my 3 friends that explained the story in detail, this is how it goes because the police explained it to them. They spot you. There's a car, and somehow they spot you, and they roam around neighborhood shopping areas, and they'll spot you. And then they will release one of the people in the car to follow you. And they'll follow you on foot. And they communicate with each other in case they get lost between the car and the follower. And then the car has to circle around, obviously, up and down different streets. Finally, when you get to your car, going to your car, not leaving your car, they drive up, they all converse on you, and there's 2 or 3 of them. They come out with guns, and they demand your watches. That's how it goes down. And my friend says I had to help him take the watch off because he kept pulling at the watch, the thief, and he said, wait, you're going to break it. This is how my friend told me the story. Wait, you're going to break it. Let me take it off. So he took it off and presented it. I don't suspect any watch thief would be as successful with me because I let's just say I'm prepared to respond in a significant way that would unalive anyone that might do that. Of course, that's a risk, but that's how I roll.
So that's what LA's turned out to be.
LA is a shithole. LA is terrible. I mean, I call it the People's Republic of LA now. It's just terrible, Archie. I grew up in Los Angeles, and it's always been an overrated city. It's always been, oh, well, there's the beach, and there's ski resorts with snow within under 2 hours from the beach and an hour and a half from most city locations. You can get to the snow and ski. You can go to Disneyland. You have Universal Studios. You have the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You have the Hollywood stars, the movie stars. You have Beverly Hills. Laguna Beach, San Diego. It sounds fabulous. It is not. It's overrated. You can't get anywhere without a car. You can't go anywhere without massive sums of money to pay for everything. I had a steak. A client took me to a steak. An old client took me, because I'm out of business. The client took me to a steak meal the other day. It was $88 for my mere lunch steak. I went today with a friend to a rib joint that I've been going to since high school. I had an order of ribs, a small cup of beans, and some French fries. That meal was $42. My iced tea was $4.50. This is not a fancy place. It's called Rib Ranch. It is what it sounds like. It's a little hut of a place on Topanga Canyon, a famous street in Los Angeles, in Woodland Hills, in the city of Woodland Hills. And it was just beautiful food. I've been going there since high school, but massively expensive. All since COVID. Pre-COVID, that meal was $19. $19. That's how much it's gone up.
Fuck, that's ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous. My Mr. Bueller is bothering me here with a ball. But things are crazy expensive. And we're not experiencing, I know some people are going to have trouble with this, we're not experiencing the golden age of Trump in Los Angeles. The low taxes, the low gas prices, the low cost of food. I mean, I can go on and on with all the economic actual affecting every American, not in California, because we're the fourth largest economy of the world under Japan, Germany, United States, and then California. If it's a country, it's always raged into the country. I was the ambassador to the Philippines. What country has an ambassador? What state has an ambassador? California is powerful, but it insulated itself with its public policy that is high taxes. I mean, high taxes, understatement, always increasing. But the sad part is the people get what they deserve because the people here have voted for it. They are leftists. They are not liberals. I respect liberals. I respect good Democrats. They are absolute radical leftists that hate America, want to destroy us with various strategies. In the meantime, they believe everyone should pay high taxes. Who gets hit the most? It's not the rich. Rich people don't pay taxes under the current tax system in America. I can explain why it's not head down that path, but rich people and rich corporations don't pay tax. And that's a good thing. There's a reason for it. There's a reason for that policy. But the middle class get hit with these taxes. And California is so overtaxed that these beautiful policies of Trump on every level we're not receiving any of the benefits. So no wonder many Californians don't appreciate Donald Trump because they can't see the results. But I can see the results. It's statistically available in almost every state of the union, but for maybe 3 or 4 of them. So that's my pitch in politics today. Sorry about that.
Yes, no, that's certainly greatly appreciated.
And I want to say something. I really remember I worked in the White House one day. It was a great story. Never mind it. I worked on Capitol Hill. I've been a career political appointee at the highest level. Couldn't get much higher in the last position I held for 8 years in California. And I will tell you that I remember the day of good, respectable Democrats that had a different position than Republicans, and then you compromised. The President Bill Clinton did that with Newt Gingrich and the Congress, and you come up with solutions, and you agree on things, and you negotiate. And sadly, our current president doesn't do that because he doesn't have to. And that's just a fact. And the Democrats have gone so extreme that I think they have lost sight of reality.
I see. We have lost sight of reality. Tell me this, I must say, I was very much a John McCain man. Okay.
He's a good man. I met him one time. I picked him up at the airport with my boss. Yeah. Or for my boss. I don't think my boss was there with me.
Yes. And he took it badly when he lost the election, but he would have been a good president, I think.
Yeah. Donald Trump insulted him very badly by saying he was never a hero. Now, Donald Trump just says stuff. He says stuff like that less now. But he does speak what he thinks. And I understand the logic where he said, well, I think heroes are men that don't get captured. All right. So
Trump wasn't even in the fucking Air Force, for fuck's sake.
Right.
The coward,
No, terrible thing to say about a man. I didn't agree with him completely. I was more, at that time, Forbes magazine, Steve Forbes was running for president. So was John McCain. I'm getting the same election right. And I worked for Steve Forbes as his finance director in Southern California, raising money. Mm-hmm. And I would have had a high-level White House appointment, according to Bill Dowcole, his right-hand man. Funny story about Steve Forbes. So I put Steve Forbes.
Forbes magazine. That's from Forbes magazine.
He ran for president, but he never.
You knew him well?
Yes, but here's the funny story. Well, yeah, I was his finance director. He also had a very small team, both nationwide and in California, by virtue of the nature of limited funds. But he was a major candidate. He might have been president. And when he ran for president, I put him in a room, I'm trying to remember, 13 times, somewhere with heavy hitters. Big. Now, a lot of banking, and not just individuals, institutions. So I put him in the room with Bank of America's two vice presidents. They had a Northern and Southern California vice president. I put him in the room with banking people. I once served as a consultant to the banking and finance committee chairman in California. And I put him in the room with powerful individuals, 13 different rooms, little clubs, locations. And I met him right before the campaign was over. One last time. He was passing me. Oddly, it was at a Republican convention. It was very large. He's coming in the door. I'm leaving the door. He has some security, limited. He didn't have Secret Service protection yet, as I recall. And I was with my intern, and I walk through, and I bump into him. And I said, Mr. Forbes. He looked at me like he had never seen me in his life. It was just a look. And I said, and I pull out my card, and I said, sir, I'm your finance director of California, which is the card that said that. And I had a real job, by the way, but I didn't pull out that card. And he looked at the card, I remember, but like this, staring at it, because he has thick glasses. He's looking at it. He said, oh, Marcus. Yes. I mean, I'm sure he didn't remember. I then said, sir, I put you in 13 rooms with high rollers. at least 2 or 3 months earlier was the last one. He said, "Oh, thank you, Marcus. I remember." Or whatever he said. I don't think that's a proper quote, but he acknowledges it. And then, as a joke, I pull out a piece of paper in my pocket or wherever it was, a bag I had, and I said, "Sir, I've been needing to get reimbursed for my expenses." And I hand him it. It was just nothing. And it was supposed to be a joke, but he took it so seriously. I was already reimbursed for all of my expenses. I didn't have a salary on it. You don't get a salary on a job like that. You, finance director, you just put money together for him. I wasn't a campaign worker, I was just finance director. And we had a nice laugh. But I left that hard to believe that the man couldn't remember me. I never put more than 15 people in a room. It was 15 people, me, Bill Dalcole, his chief guy, some security.
Do you feel pissed off about that? Like they're so superficial or what?
Yeah, I left. I know he meets a lot of people, but I was at the top.
You were his campaign director.
I was third.
Finance director.
You can argue I was third in line at the highest state in his team. I don't know. It was I thought it was because when we met each time, I would meet his staff, his guys before he shows. Then he shows with his driver and his bodyguard. And then we mingle a little. Then I bring him into the room. None of this was sit-down meals or speeches. These are just small gatherings. I usually did them in clubhouses. There was a club at the top of a big building in San Diego. We did several things. Jonathan Club in Los Angeles. Clubs, private clubs that I'd get a place. I think I did one elegant restaurant had a private room. I'm trying to remember all of it. It was like there was 13 of them. Anyway, whatever. It's disheartening. People don't remember you. But Bill Dalcole, his chief guy, who's on my Facebook as a friend, he said, "Marcus, we're gonna take care of you afterwards. Good luck." But he lost. Bush. Oh, that was the Bush win. Bush won. Second Bush was my least favorite candidate.
Yeah, it's it's funny you say that. I know people who've been in politics on both sides, left and right, and they both have told me politics is very, very superficial game like that. It's very like you think you're part of the machine, but they will spit you out. No.
Everyone and everything is expendable in politics. There's very few exceptions of true loyalty. I'll tell you another story. Do you want to hear another political story?
Sure. Yeah, I love it. All right.
So here's a good one. This one's a good one. I have told this publicly twice, but I don't believe it's ever been publicly reported anywhere, even though it was a reporter that took the story twice. So here's this story. So I want to keep a few things anonymous. I want to be big picture because I don't want to insult my prior boss. So I was a constitutional officer in California. There's 14 of us, I think. The governor was one, and I was another. Some are elected, some are appointed. And what that means is you have a job that's listed in the state constitution. It means it's a very high job. And I ran the agency that was the largest in California. I am appointed, not elected. There's an elected above me, a statewide elected official. And this agency happens to be like the second largest agency in any state of the union. It's massive. Okay. Because California is a massive agency. And I was going to the Philippines for other reasons I won't get into in this story. So I had to go to the Philippines again as the liaison from California. The Philippines called me the real ambassador from America. And before I left, my boss comes in the room that very last day, and he says, "Marcus, I have good news for you on your departure to the Philippines." "What is that, boss?" He said, "I am giving you your final pay raise." It was 1%. There was a cap, and I had maxed out, but for 1%. The boss wanted to hold out so he could run around and say, "I haven't paid Frishman the full salary." that's what these guys do. So I had to be unpaid 1% low for all these years. And then finally, in the last couple of years in office, he comes and says, I'm going to give you a pay raise of the final 1%, which, by the way, contributes to your retirement in California as a lifetime income guarantee after you leave your job. But so it had a benefit that was significant, even though that number sounds insignificant. It had a lifetime benefit. So he said that. He carries me into the room where the personnel person was processing it as we speak. He says, Neil, tell Marcus what you're doing. Oh, never mind, I'll tell him. That's how it goes. I remember this verbatim. Neil is processing your 1% pay raise. Now, my boss was very dramatic, and he wanted to make a big deal, and I thanked him, and I bought him a cigar, $17 that day, a Padron, as I recall. He liked it, his favorite cigar with the pointy. He wanted the pointy thing. Anyway, I went and bought it across the street, gave him a cigar, and he said, you can even leave early, which is something he would never allow. He didn't care if we got in late. I'm an independent appointed official. I don't really report to him once he appoints me as a technicality. But nonetheless, we treat him as the boss. And I'm getting this pay raise. So I leave the country that Sunday. It was, I think, a Friday. And I travel to the Philippines for my duties, and I'm there 36 days. And when I return, I'm sitting at my desk, and I'm going through my inbox, which I do. It's important. And there's a document I see every month from personnel. It's a list of the staff, how much we pay them, and some other data entry information. And I usually take it out, put my initial on it like a good bureaucrat, look at it, and then put it in my outbox for my assistant to file. Who the hell knows why I get this stupid document? But that's what I'm 10% bureaucrat, so that's what I had to do. But this time I look at the document, and I see that I'm not the chief. I'm not the chief deputy. I'm not in my independent constitutional office. And I call my assistant in. I had 2 assistants. They wanted to be called executive assistants. I called Linda in, and I said, Linda, what is this? And I hand it to her. She says, and then she realizes something, and she has a funny look on her face. And she says, Marcus, that is the routine staff thing, whatever it's called, had a name to it. And I said, but look at this. Would you call personnel and tell them this is all data entry wrong and fix it? I am the chief of staff, last I heard. Here we go. She then pauses and says, Marcus, I think you should make that call. Now, Linda doesn't do that. If I tell her to make a call, and she makes my calls and she does my emails, one of the first things I did when I got to there is I structured it so she would do all my communication. I didn't have a computer on my desk by choice. I did other things. I helped people when I was in government, not ruin their lives with all this bureaucracy. So I said, what do you mean? And she just looked at me. Marcus, make the call, please. Okay. Get on the phone to Lisa, whatever her name was, Lisa, somebody, personnel. And Lisa in personnel says, Mr. Frishman, you should talk to your boss. Well, this doesn't sound good, I said. Okay. Hang up. I call Linda in. I call the chief counsel in. What's going on? What is this? You need to call Mr. P, the boss.
That's the one you bought the cigar for.
Yeah, that's right. My boss. So I call him up. He won't answer. He's missing. He always answers. He's the most accessible man you've ever met, really, to the public, to me. And he's gone. I don't think much about it, really, until the next day. I get into the office the next day and I begin this nonsense because everybody wants to know if I've reached him. And everyone's avoiding me. It's a bad environment. And then in the middle of the day, the chief counsel, who works for me, comes to me. His name's George, lifelong friend, by the way. I got him that job. He said, sir, I have to meet with you and I'm going to take you. I've been instructed to take you to Hooters. Now, the only time I went to Hooters was when there was nobody to really treat me for lunch, which was what my secretary did every day. So I just got back. So I had a free schedule, but I always had someone taking me to a nice restaurant for lunch. I worked at lunch with people. But in this case, I'm off to Hooters with George the chief counsel, and he then sits down. We have a nice meal, and he brings out a piece of paper, and he starts to read it. And it goes something like this. This is a note from the boss. I've taken it word for word, and I'm supposed to read it to you. It says something, I'm going to paraphrase, obviously, it's a long time ago. You will always be my chief deputy. You have been a great chief deputy. And when I become treasurer of California, which was expected, you will be the deputy treasurer of California, which was a significant position. Same pay grade as I'm in, though, but it sliding over. And I said, yes, well, get to the point. What is this? However, we have appointed this other woman. If I said her name, let me think if I want to say her name. Let people figure it out. Her husband was the former chairman of the Republican Party of California, Sean Steele. Her name is Michelle Steele. She just lost Congress. She got elected to Congress eventually. She was a recent congresswoman here in California. She was my low-level employee. She never held a job before working for me until she worked for her husband's law office. Sean Steele had a law office, and he was the chairman of the Republican Party for years. Good friend of mine, and I thought she was too. They appointed her into my position so she could use my title as a ballot designation. Under California law, you can't use a hypothetical. You can't use what you might want to be. You can't use what you retired. You can only use a ballot title for what you are. And in politics in America, ballot designations, what you say you do, you're the deputy chief of staff of the police department, you're a sheriff, you're a businessman, it helps you get elected. She used my title because it makes her look like the incumbent. My title was very similar to the elected official's title. So she uses that because it is her. You have to have the job 30 days before the election. That's why I was sent to the Philippines. They stole my title. I thought to myself, well, what happened on that day that the boss said he's giving me a pay increase? He lied. He lied to me. Mr. Neil, that I told you was giving me the pay increase, that he stands me in front of him and says, Neil right now is getting you that last 1% pay increase. He was demoting me. He was demoting me and appointing this woman who does get elected to the position, serves out the term. By the way, who does she appoint chief deputy? She promises to appoint me, but she never does. She appoints a dear friend of mine, Lou. And then this congresswoman, Michelle, well, she's not a congresswoman yet. She's lastly a congresswoman, but Michelle Steele, I confront her and I said, what's this? She's crying in her office and she says, and I've never told this story publicly. She says, Marcus, I thought you knew. Well, I didn't know. And by the way, had I known, there's something called redlining. It's a personnel technical bureaucratic term that means you can change titles but keep the money, because she took the money. And they demoted me to a low-level staff member. So guess what happens when I get back? My mortgage bounced. I had an account where I would deposit my salary, which I believe was $16,375.76 every month. Plus, I had a non-taxable stipend of about $1,500 a month. Plus, I had a sideline of $35,000 a year. I had money. I was doing well, at the level I was at anyway. And she's getting my money. So my mortgage bounces because of the exclusive account the mortgage is paid from. And the automatic deposits. Anyway, the point is, I counseled up. I got a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer guy. I'm not a guy that sues, but the boss is missing. I'm going to jump ahead. We're into this 1 week. The boss has not returned to the office. He's missing. George has told me I'm the chief deputy forever, and I'll be reverted back to the position in a few days. They did. They reverted me back to my position. My salary was recovered, but I'm missing some money. So I have to sit down. I'm told to sit down with Sean Steele, the congresswoman's husband, and he will reimburse me for my state government salary loss and my retirement contribution and other benefits that were bestowed upon me at that high level. The amount came to about $17,000. And he pulls out a checkbook, this Sean Steele, at the Starbucks, and it's the checkbook of a political foundation. He wants to pay me, and I'm on the board of that foundation. I said, well, you can't pay me with that money. You're going to have to pay me privately. It's okay, but I can't take a check from a foundation. Like, there were some rules. He's the lawyer. Ethics. Nobody cares. I cared about ethics. So he wrote me a personal check. And then I said, well, hold on a minute. I got a better idea. I'm going to make you sign a contract. I'm now her fundraiser. I am going to raise her money. I'm not just taking your money. You sign this contract. I will raise her money. He gave me $17,000 and change, as I recall the number. He signed a contract that I had prepared. I was ready to go. And I said, I'll raise her money. And I did. And guess how much I raised her? $25,000. Then I said, I'm finished. I'm done. I did it in like a month. And I was done. So I got money raised in her campaign. But here's what happened. His personal check is a violation of California law because it exceeded the $6,000 limit to pay me for it's hard to explain, but a third party cannot pay more than $6,000 in that race for a campaign. I won't get into the minutia, but he violates the Fair Political Press Commission. I don't. I called them and asked. They said, you can accept it. It's not a violation, but his giving it to you is fair enough. I'm keeping it. And I deposited the money. It was my money. And anyway, I got my position back. They promised me I would be their chief of staff, and that goes with a second constitutional title. And she didn't do it. She reneged on the deal, and she got elected to Congress. And I've never told this story publicly. It's not her fault. It was my boss's fault, because my boss, all she had to do, he'd come to me. I would have facilitated this. I would have done this, and I would have had a real feather in my cap for doing it. And I wouldn't have had to consult attorneys. Now, here's really the end of the story. The boss stays missing for 3 months. Under California law, when you are a constitutional designee, example, the Deputy Treasurer of California, the Deputy Attorney General of California, the Deputy Secretary of State of California, or the Deputy fill in the blank, the job I had. If the boss is dead, gets elected to something, or resigns, you assume his elected position, and you then run in the next election. There is a law that says if he's missing 3 months, no action is necessary. A vacated seat occurs by his missing presence, and that all I have to do is show up to a meeting. Because there's meetings, right? Executive offices have meetings, legislature has meetings. And then I would assume the position he had, and I would be the elected representative, unelected, filling the elected position. So what does he do? He shows up that afternoon. I'm at the podium. I have the full legal counsel of the agency supporting me. I've got my private lawyers ready to go. I am taking over this elected position. But instead, he shows up, apologizes in the back room, sits down. I never had the chance to assume the position. I will point out that my two, I'm not going to tell any more than that story, but I was going to say something probably I shouldn't, but that was a terrible thing to do to me. And it also was deceitful, even though it was legal, to allow someone to have my title, to then run for the elected seat for 30 days, to have the title 30 days. She was a low-level employee. And she got elected to Congress eventually, immediately after that. That's the terrible story. Politics has no loyalty.
Speaking of loyalty, PayPig85, $20 super sticker.
Wow.
You,
and he didn't ask any questions, PayPig.
There we go. Thank you so much. And woot! That's the logo saying woot. Woot, woot, woot. Thank you. Thank you so much. My God, that is absolutely incredible. Did he ever have a conversation in private with you after that?
Yes, we were walking to the garage because I had to go to the airport. He had to go. He actually has CHP drive him the California Highway Patrol would drive him all the way home because he didn't like to fly from Sacramento. Sacramento is the state capital of California.
Punch. He got Punch from Chips. Punch. You know that TV show Chips.
Yeah. Well, we had several punches. I had to have protection. That was another story. But I was not due protection as a routine. He was, and he got protection from the California Highway Patrol, just like the California governor did.
Sure.
And he would want to drive all the way from Los Angeles to Sacramento, 600 miles back and forth. I took a plane every day. I flew to Sacramento daily and then returned to Los Angeles daily.
Why didn't any of these politicians make you an ambassador?
Well, Archie, I just moved and I have things packed, but when I'm unpacking everything and I don't have many more boxes, 6 left, somewhere in my box. And I made sure to pack it, believe me. And I packed very little because I took only what was necessary for this beach pad. The state of California flew down from Sacramento to Los Angeles, some sort of engineer guy, and he changed my wall door designation from my real title, which might still be there. And then under it wrote ambassador. I don't think it says ambassador to the Philippines. I will have to show it to you, but it says ambassador. I think it does say California. Anyway, whatever. I was labeled the ambassador. I was the liaison to the Philippines, but the Philippine government, in one instance, and I told you this story, I'm not going to repeat the long version now, but I told you when the Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Philippines looked at the American ambassador, it's him, me, a photographer in the room, and he says to the American ambassador, Mr. Ambassador, this is Marcus Frishman. He is the real ambassador from America, the only ambassador who's helped the Philippine people, and the only ambassador who cares about the Philippine people. Not in that order, but those are the 3 points. I'll never forget it. The man looked at me, and I guarantee you, I never went to his parties that I kept getting invited to on the tennis courts of the Philippine Embassy, the American Philippine Embassy, and he had never met me. I gave him my card, which has a Philippine flag and an American flag. This is my Philippine card. And I gave him that. He kept staring at it. I have a beautiful picture on my Facebook of that exact moment where he's looking at it, and I'm there, and the speaker's there. It's on my Facebook. It's a public picture, I think. And he says, "What do you do here? What do you do here? What do you do here in the Philippines?" And I said, "Sir, I just travel." And then the speaker says, "Oh, he saved the Philippine economy." And then, of course, that story. So that's why I was there. I was there to be originally honored by the president, the stock exchange, the speaker, the Senate, the House of Representatives, on and on, governors and various governors and so forth. Because I did something tremendous. California is the 3rd largest investor there, and they were going to divest, and I saved that investment and ultimately increased it single-handedly, alone in a room, while a team of people were fighting it against me. But the point of that is, yes, I was called the ambassador. And then right here, let me get something. Hold on.
Interesting stories with Marcus Allen Frishman. This is the Marcus Allen Frishman show.
Right, it is. This, if there's any doubt, there's only 14 people in California who get one of these. And I'm not sure all of them have availed of it. I can't, because you have to fill out a form, and it costs the state money, and you get it. And the governor has one, and I got one. This is an official, there's my ID. There's an official Deputy Constitutional Officer. And that was my official badge. And there's 14 electeds and appointeds that should be entitled to this badge.
What does that do? Deputy Constitutional Officer. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it means that there's 14 jobs in the state constitution, and I had one of them. I was appointed to it. Now, my name used to be there, and this little brass thing fell out, and it's missing. But, and without giving the private code.
Does that let you get off speeding fines?
No, my boss had one of these, and he would flash it around. And I know a guy that kept showing it to police every time he was pulled over. He was the former chief of staff of the governor, Gray Davis. His name's Jim, probably watching this show. And he would show it to police casually because he'd say, "Oh, here's my license, officer." And the license would be like in this compartment here. And he'd show it. And police, the moment they see a badge, I have never, for the record, and it's being recorded here. I have never used this badge to gain anything. It is for my own personal pleasure, and I show people to impress individuals, but I have never used it in any. I take that back. There was one official capacity I used it. I remember it. I don't know how official it was, and I kind of got in trouble. My secretary bought a car, and I had to unwind the car. It was a scam, one of those scam purchases where they make her buy a car, attach all this shit to it. So my executive assistant, she wasn't a secretary, as she liked to remind me. And I showed up, and I flashed my badge at that business, and I sat down and unwound her purchase of a car. That's the only time I've ever used. And then I told my boss what I did, and he was not happy. He said, "You should not have done that." And I said, "Well, I didn't walk in and say I was the FBI or the, whatever I could. I just showed him the badge. I said, look, she works for me, and you got to unwind it, and something like that." And I did. What a scam. That was a toy. That was, I don't want to say the dealer. I probably shouldn't, So it was in Southern California, and it was a new car dealer. I'm surprised a big dealer would have scammed her.
How bad was the deal? What was wrong with the deal?
Oh, well, they added the car coat, for $1,200, and then they added a extended warranty for $6,000, and then they added something else, and then she didn't really like the car. So I said to her, "Well, why don't we use that to really unwind the car? Because I can." That stuff is, and there were some other dynamics to it. I'm sure I can't remember every detail, but it was an add-on. And when you under California law, you have a 3-day right of refusal or whatever they call it to return the vehicle, as I remember the law. But she was beyond that, and so we brought back the car. I physically brought back the car. Chief Counsel George drove it there. He got in trouble too. The boss didn't like what I did. It was the only time I remember getting in trouble. I think he gave me 10 days off with pay. I think he said, "Look, you shouldn't have abused your authority by showing the badge and then demanding." I did not think it was an abuse of authority, and I'm at the highest of ethics in politics. I particularly when you're dealing with criminals. They were criminal enterprise is what they were. What they needed was a real badge. When I say a real badge, they really needed law enforcement to show up. But yeah, in America, it is common for officials, certain officials, government elected and appointed, to get badges when they're not police officers or, law enforcement types. And it's just something that's done. So that's
a very interesting thing,
Yes, it definitely is interesting. I'm trying to see. Somebody's saying, "Let's talk about the Philippines." Well, some other. Mark doesn't like the Philippines. I guess he's done with that. Huh? And somebody else wants to talk about the Philippines. But guys, what we have to do is we have to support Archie. This is my show. It is Archie's moment to flourish on my show, and therefore we need some super chats. Ask a question and give a super chat, like $1, $5. It helps, We have to make this show worthwhile, or it's going to go off the air. It might.
I got to tell you, Marcus, you are such an interesting chap. I enjoy chatting to you. I must say, it's been incredibly enjoyable.
Well, thank you, Archie. I enjoy it. You listen to me more than you talk, but that's because I overwhelmed the moment. I'm sorry.
No, you've got such interesting stories, and I must say, politics is a dirty game. If you had your life again, would you go down a different trajectory?
Yes. When I was young, I was offered a chance to be an ice skater. I was a prodigy.
You were offered a chance to be an ice skater, a movie star, and a politician.
And exactly. I had the ice skater. It was an Olympic. It was to be trained to be a gold medal winner of the Olympics. I mean, who knows? I would have won the gold, but I turned it down. I was very young, 11. I was shy and didn't want to compete. And then later, I guess I was preteen. They Paramount Studios came. It was Paramount. That's a studio on 3rd Street. I think Paramount.
They wanted you as a star.
They wanted me to make me a star. You know, that's what they did back. They picked someone.
Mind you, can I say this to you, Marcus? You look at how a lot of these stars have fared.
Not good, right?
And it's probably the best thing is not to be a star. Do you understand?
The biggest regret. Yeah, no, I agree. But the biggest regret was when I was working in Washington, D.C., Senator Richard Lugar offered me a committee staff job on the Foreign Relations Committee. You don't get, if you know politics, you don't get a committee staff job unless you've held other staff jobs on Capitol Hill and are extremely experienced. The best of the best get committee staff. And I don't remember what job, I'm sure it was entry level, but I turned it down and I left and went back to California to do one more year. I tried to get that job later. I did apply, but when you say no to a politician, I can just hear him now. Yeah, we liked Frishman, but he turned us down. Find someone else. So I didn't get that. I went a different path. I did do work in Washington, but I went to California state politics. And California is pretty powerful and pays very well. And the retirement benefits are a salary for life.
Oh, I see. So you still have a salary for life. That's how you survive now.
And don't confuse. Well, I was doing substantial consulting until last year, as I say, and my goal was to have zero income by January 1. That looks like that will happen. When I say zero income, zero work income, and I'm doing consulting with the team since then, but I'm done with that. And I did get an appointment to another firm, but they're just using my bio and my name to get business. And aside from one small payment, I haven't received any money from them anymore. But my name's there, and I'm officially there. I could show you that business card because people, I don't know. It's like of counsel. I'm just there, but I'm not there. Whatever. So no, I do nothing now. But that let me explain that. This is good news. If you were a state of California high-level political appointee, you were called Tier 1. This Tier 1 status gives you a guaranteed salary for life after 55, regardless if you're retired or not, regardless if you're working or not, and you didn't have to contribute, and it's not a retirement, and it's not based on any investment. It's a guaranteed contractual salary for life that increases every year. And that I get that, and I've been getting that for a few years.
How much is that?
Well, I'm not going to reveal that right here, but I will tell you that could range. Hell, let me do the numbers. In California, that could range depending upon excluding those overpaid university provosts and things who could likely be getting $400,000 a year. That range could be anywhere from, I want to say, $25,000 to $250,000 a year, beginning at 55. That's not bad. No, and guess what else? You can then go back to work with the state of California, and it's called retired annuitants. I once said, "What's that?" Well, that's when we put you back in any job you want and still keep paying your retirement too. So you get 2 paychecks, perfectly legal. That's how they roll. Now, if you're an employee after a certain year, I forget what year it is, Archie, but if you started employment, say after the certain year, you have to contribute to that. It's tied to an investment. It's not a guaranteed salary. So all the current people and some of the past, more recent people don't have what's called Tier 1 retirement, and I do. And that's fabulous. And when I say retirement, it's not really retirement. It's guaranteed salary for life after 55. And so now I've revealed I'm older than 55, which one never asks a gentleman his age, some things are not obvious.
Let me ask you this. What do you do with yourself? You are such a busy person.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Do you enjoy having the time off?
Oh, it's This is very new for me, and that's why I've transitioned.
What do
to
you
this
do? Like, is routine important for you?
Oh yeah, I'm a very routine guy. All right, I'll tell you what I do. So I wake up at. We're approaching the end of the show, but this is a good wrap up. I wake up at 10:25 a.m. in the morning. Sometimes I linger to 11. I've done that for actually even during my full-time consulting, which occurred between 2010 until last year.
Okay.
And I walk my dog, a quick pee with the dog. Quick, very fast. I am in my robe, and I am I could be mistaken for, a 1980s mafia guy because I put on a hat and a robe and I go out. And then I I come back and I take my shower. I feed Mr. Bueller. I've always had one dog in my life, so there's always a dog there. And I prepare for lunch. Lunch is a big part of my life because for years it's clients.
There were meetings.
They were meetings, and it's half. It was up to 2/3, down to half, to 1/3 of the time. Someone was paying me to go to lunch within 30 minutes of my home, at a high-end steakhouse. That was my thing. The rest of the time, I would go to restaurants and eat alone or with friends. And that was my work time. So I worked at restaurants with someone there or alone between about 1 and 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I worked in restaurants regardless of the fact that I have two offices in my office, a formal office and a working office in my home. I chose to work in restaurants, and I picked perfect places, silent, quiet, usually independents. Obviously, the other type of work was at a high-end steakhouse because I'm with a client, and that's focused on one particular client. And I made my clients meet with me. I wouldn't allow phone calls. If you have a question, you set up a lunch. That's just how I did it. And the reason I did it that way, because when I was a state official, my secretary would have a lunch scheduled with some taxpayer, some constituent every day. And we had a rule. If she didn't set it up, she would take me to Hooters. And she made sure to set it up so she wouldn't have to take me to Hooters. And believe me, she did. And frequently I would just take her out. Trust me. So it was never a realized threat. So I continued that protocol. Many consultants find it very strange. My colleagues think it's very odd. But anyway, so then I return to my home between 3 and 4:30. Mr. Bueller's waiting to be walked. We do a nice long walk midday. And then I start to wind down and relax. I like movies. I like music. And I do that during that period before dinner, movies and music. Mr. Bueller is a big part of my life, photography. I fuss with various hobbies. And then it's dinner. And I eat 14 meals out a week. So over the last few years, I wouldn't allow clients to take me to dinner. I used dinner to meet friends. So dinner was exclusively half the time with a friend, half the time alone, and I don't work at dinner, but I do go out. Then I come home, eat dinner late, so I'll get home 8 or 9, and I'm watching TV. I'm a big TV lover, and that's when I really settle down. I take a jacuzzi at 9:30 every night. I do a foot spa about 3 times a week.
Are you a Rockford Files fan?
Yeah, I've watched them all the Rockford Files. And then I watched Columbo from the beginning. That took a long time. They were in black and white. And I get massage on Sunday. I always have, except if I'm in the Philippines. My girlfriend and I would get massage almost every night because it was so convenient and easy. Just it happens instantly. You text from the massage girl, 10 minutes later, she's there. It's cheap. It's good. And we both get massage. But here in Los Angeles, California, and now Ventura County, it looks like I have to give my massage girl a pay increase because of the distance she has to drive. But yeah, Sunday night I like to get a massage. But I do my own foot spas now 3 times a week, and I'm now at the beach pad, so I'm outside a bit more. I like to get sun. So I get a little sun daily. I sit by a pool. So those are the things. I'm really a man of leisure. I don't need to do anything, and I relax a lot, and I like sleeping. I sleep at about midnight, and I wake up at 10:25 a.m.
What a great life. What a great life. That's fantastic. We've just got another super chat before we close here. We've got a super chat from Black Cat 997, $5. Math, have you seen the conspiracy theories being spread about Candace Owens about the Charlie Kirk assassination?
Yeah, she's a lunatic. She's a lunatic, and she is nasty, and she is mean, and she is an absolute disgrace. There is no one in the public venue that I dislike more than Candace Owens. Now, I'm a conservative. I'm a Trump-loving conservative. Although I have problems with some of the things Mr. Trump does, I get past that due to my believing in certain public policy positions. But let me say that Candace Owens, I'll repeat, is just nasty. And today on Facebook, I let someone know it who is promoting Candace Owens. She is an absolute lunatic. You know, I thought it was just because of her manner, that she was just mean, nasty. But in fact, I'm thinking now she has mental illness. I have a minor in psychology for what it's worth. She has a mental illness. She is not a good representative of the conservative cause. She is not a good representative for the Republican Party, and she needs to be ignored. She is a lunatic in more ways than one, notwithstanding this Charlie Kirk nonsense. Look at what she's done with the wife of the president of France. I mean, how rude can you be? I don't know.
That is disgusting. Yes.
It's absolutely disgusting. And people have a right to be whoever. I don't know anything about that woman, whether it be I don't care if the allegations are true or not. You don't make you know that treads beyond the line. You just don't do that. You don't go after. Look, I don't embrace a lot of leftist positions, but I believe they have a right to be leftist. They have a right to free speech. They have a right to hate. Even you have a right to hate in America. So I have a right to hate her. And when I say hate, it's not real hate. You know, I've never really hated anyone in my life, but she's terrible. And I hope you don't. I follow her.
I must agree. That is absolutely terrible thing. I mean, look, the French president, whether you like him or not, that's one thing, right?
No, she has a history. She went south on her mentor. Her mentor was Dennis Prager. I don't know how many people know who Dennis Prager is. Look it up. He's big in America. He's big around the world. He's significant. He's my mentor. He was my professor at the University of Judaism, where most of the students, by the way, were Christian and Muslim, not Jews. And we learned about the Bible. He read it verse by verse. It was a 3-year course. And we read the Bible verse by verse. But he's a radio host. He's a lecturer. He runs Prager University. It's an online university. He's a significant man who's recently, God bless him, been incapacitated due to a fall out of his shower. But Dennis Prager, my hero, she has gone after him, and as the story is told, without going into the details, he was her mentor. So she'll just go after you for no reason at all. I don't know what's the matter with the woman. Look, she sounds like a lunatic, and she's mean. You know, nasty, mean people are not good. Even if they're on your side in political positions, because I agree with her political positions, I don't know, about 90% of the time. She doesn't have a good position on Israel, but, you know, that we differ on things. You know. She may be anti-Semitic. She may be even anti-Semitic. Who knows?
Marcus, it's time to wrap this baby up. I'm going to wrap her up now, and we will be back next week if you're available.
I am, and we're getting the confetti to fall for some reason. We don't know why, but I'm Marcus Allen Frishman, and you're not. Thank you, Archie.
Just stay there. I'll just run the outro.
We got controversial, Archie.